I'm Emily P. Freeman, and welcome to The Next Right Thing. You're listening to episode 384. This is a podcast about making decisions, but also about making a life. If you struggle with decision fatigue, chronic hesitation, or if you just need a few minutes away from the constant stream of information and the sometimes delightful but distracting hum of entertainment, you're in the right place for discerning your next right thing. I'm an author, a spiritual director, and an occasional workshop leader. I live in North Carolina with my family, and through my work, I've helped thousands of spiritually thoughtful people overcome decision fatigue so that they can discern their next right thing in faith, work, and life. In our last episode, we talked about a saying we hear a lot: trust the process. What rises up in us when we hear that could be, does the process know that we're trusting it? And so in that episode 383, I share a series of questions to help you know if a process is worth your trust. Today, I'm sharing another phrase we might hear often: protect your peace. Now, I like that phrase, and I also wonder sometimes if we take it a little bit too far. Does our peace need protecting? When and to what extent? How can we know when our next right thing is to protect our peace, and when instead we might need to extend or even step into discomfort on purpose? That's today's episode. Listen in. On August 13th, 2025, Taylor Swift appeared on Travis and Jason Kelce's podcast, New Heights. A highlight of the episode, and the main purpose of her appearance, is when she revealed the cover of her 12th album, The Life of a Showgirl. During the more than 2-hour conversation, Travis and Taylor shared insights into the relationship, including the story of how they met, what they like to do in their downtime, all about her bread making, details about their first date. Fun fact that we all now know is that evidently just hours after recording that podcast, Travis would get down on one knee and ask her to marry him in his backyard. How lovely. Well, I watched over half of the interview live on YouTube, and I watched the rest later, but I was there live along with more than 1.3 million other people. And I remember fumbling for a pen to jot down what Taylor said when Jason Kelce asked the two of them how they handle all the media attention on the relationship. And her answer was, "We don't." She said a headline can have her name in it and still be none of her business. And then she gave a 2-sentence TED Talk about boundaries by talking about energy and how crucial it is that we don't just give it away because people want to take it. Here's exactly what she said. Think of your energy as if it's expensive, as if it's like a luxury item. Not everyone can afford it. Not everyone has invested in you in order to be able to have the capital for you to care about this. Because what you spend your energy on, that's the day. I thought this was a compelling take, and I made a quote graphic real quick of it on Instagram, as one does. And within the hour, it didn't go viral or anything, but I got traction right away. It was shared over 2,000 times. It was bookmarked nearly 1,000 times. But that is the quote that I saw shared over and over again, not just on my Instagram, but on social media, other people talking about the interview in the days following it. And it's because even though we cannot relate to a billionaire musician's life, we all understand the energy it takes to care too much about what other people think. So to imagine treating our energy like a luxury item that not everyone can afford offers a reality check that attention and energy cost us something already. We have to consider that cost when we decide whose opinion gets to matter. Because like she says, what you spend your energy on, that's the day. And as we know from Annie Dillard, how we spend our days is how we spend our lives. So what if instead of paying that cost automatically at times, we decided to treat our energy as a resource and an important one? Now, like I said, I like her take in the context of caring about what other people think. She's describing how she's learned to protect her peace, a move that is vital for her to thrive in both her personal relationship and in her professional life. But context is key here. The trouble comes when we apply that same concept to other areas of life: family, faith, work, community care, public safety. We cannot just go around saying, well, my energy is a luxury and you simply can't afford it. What a privileged, not to mention lonely way to move through the world. We're wise to adopt that saying when it applies to overcaring, to people pleasing, to extending or responding to every opinion people have about what you're doing or not doing, or how you choose to be in the world. But if we all adopted that saying in every area of life, we would fail to thrive. Earlier this year, I saw another quote that one could argue is the flip side of protecting your peace. It was from Brooke Romney, who was an author who offers support for parents of teens and tweens. She said this: if we all only do the things we love, the things that spark joy, who does the rest? Who shovels the walk, paints the scenery, or babysits for the sick mom? No one, that's who. There isn't an army of people who find joy doing undesirable things. There aren't a bunch of adults with nothing better to do. There are just good people who are willing to contribute anyway. She goes on. When we fixate on what's good for us in the moment, we often miss what is good for us in the long run. We don't have to say yes all the time, but you don't have to say no all the time either. If everyone does a little, the burden no longer feels quite so heavy for the few. If you want a village, you have to be a villager. There's a lot there. And again, it's important to know the context. Brooke is responding to those who might encourage us to only do that which brings us joy, submitting that if we refuse to step into uncomfortable or undesirable roles or situations, then ultimately our relationships and our communities will suffer. Sometimes we have to say yes. But on the other hand, Taylor Swift is responding to the question of her critics and naysayers, submitting that to engage with and respond to all of them would be detrimental to her own mental health and ability to actually do her work. Sometimes we have to say no. So which is it? Do we protect our peace and draw safe boundary lines around our lives? Or do we put aside discomfort for the sake of the greater good? Hopefully, you're hearing my point, which is yes and no, and it depends. When it comes to making life decisions like this, knowing when to say yes and no, knowing when to draw a boundary line and when to lean into discomfort, knowing when to stay and when to walk away, these kinds of questions are not formulaic. They do not respond well to black and white thinking, to sound bites or one-size-fits-all advice. They require discernment. They require patience and nuance. There is a difference between protecting your peace so that you can stay engaged for the long haul, and protecting your peace simply to guard against discomfort. It's a difference between connection and isolation. And there is not just one answer for everyone at every time. When we left our church in 2020, some might say that we did so in order to protect our family peace. It was that. It was other things too. But partially that was true. For the mental health of our teenagers in particular, that was no longer a space we could occupy with integrity. But that same space was not necessarily objectively a bad place. Other people who I know made the choice to stay, to lean in, to work to make a difference in a place where, for me at that time, were I to have tried to make that same choice, it would have led me to isolation, not to connection. It would have been for me a barrier and not a bridge. There is a difference between the peace that comes from doing the deeply right thing and the relief that comes from avoiding discomfort. And listen, for years, I avoided the discomfort of making the hard choice to leave that space. But we know that true peace is not the absence of discomfort or of conflict. True peace is an inner okayness, it's a wholeness, and it often comes at great cost. True peace is an alignment with what we know and what we do. It's living in congruence with our personal core values, our true identity, with the common good, and our life with God. We can't ignore that part. But anyone who has ever had braces knows that getting things into alignment almost always includes discomfort. David Brooks wrote an opinion piece for the New York Times where he said, quote, We're living through the great detachment. In fact, I think that was part of the title of his article. In essence, what he meant was that according to the data, people value control and autonomy over close relationships and community. Here is my last quote of the day. David Brooks writes, "These trends are not just about who people want to date and marry. We're seeing a systematic weakening of the loving bonds that hold society together for community, for nation, for friends, and on and on. What's going on?" My short answer would be that you can build a culture around loving communities, or you can build a culture around individual autonomy, but you can't do both. Over the past 6 decades or so, we chose autonomy, and as a result, we have been on a collective journey from autonomy to achievement to anxiety. It might be a stretch for me to say this, but maybe even not much of one, that in an effort to collectively protect our peace on some level, we are in danger of becoming, or have perhaps already become, more isolated, and as a result, more anxious. I am not here to draw conclusions. I'm certainly not a researcher, but it's a conversation worth having, worth holding, and continuing. How can we be good stewards of our mental and emotional health? And also be people who show up for one another, who refuse to isolate, and stay engaged members of community. Clearly, I cannot solve it, and there isn't just one next right thing, but I would like to submit that protecting your peace is still good practice, but only as it's part of a full rhythm of life. And that includes regular reflection, honest assessment, community connection, awareness of divine love. Protecting your peace, I would say, is best practiced in rhythm, as you know yourself, your own capacity. It's most helpful when it holds hands with courage and connection, honoring who you are today and what you're able to hold, while also being willing to stand near your growth edge and hold the tension just a little bit longer. Even as we protect our peace, we are not without challenge, discomfort, or conflict. We are always considering the cost for today, discerning, hopefully if we can, in community, what we have capacity for. Protecting our peace, I would say, is communal. It's recognizing that while some of us may need to hold back and regulate at times, others are emboldened to act and to move, and then we take turns over time with grace, like the waves on the shore, like a breath in and out. Protecting our peace can be part of our collective human rhythm of life as we continue to learn what it looks like in real time to do our next right thing in love. Thanks for listening to episode 384 of The Next Right Thing. I hope this simple practice of examining what it means for you to protect your peace can be just one more rung on the trellis upon which your rhythm of life can continue to grow. Because while it's true this is a podcast about making decisions, you know the bigger truth is our daily decisions are making our lives. As always, you can find me online at emilypfreeman.com or on Instagram at emilypfreeman. This episode was edited by the team at Unmutable and organized by Ashley Sherlock. One last thing I have to tell you, it is not too late to get the Lent Collection inside the Quiet Collection app. Yes, it is designed to start on Ash Wednesday, but with a month left until Easter, you can easily catch up by listening to one audio reflection in the morning and another one in the evening. They're quite short. And of course, once you purchase it, just know it's yours forever, so you'll be all set up for next year. In closing, here are a few words from How to Walk Into a Room in the chapter called Peace or Avoidance. I believe when we are willing to say, is this true peace or is it the relief that comes from avoidance? That just asking the question is good work and sets us on a path toward goodness and healing. Even when fear holds us back, God holds us up, stands by us and with us. And the truth is, we're still going to be okay. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you next time.